The moment your boots leave the obsidian platform and the infinite purple-black swallows you whole. Reality twists. The solid ground of the overworld, the comforting drip of lava in the nether, all of it replaced by a whispering silence that presses against your eardrums like cotton. You're flying now, the weight of the elytra familiar on your back, but the usual thrill of soaring is laced with a primal unease. Below you, there's nothing, not darkness, not emptiness, but an utter negation of space, a void so profound your mind struggles to parse it, threatening to pull your sanity down into its hungry maw. This is the outer end, and you are utterly, terrifyingly alone. You bank left, the rush of air the only sound besides the rhythmic asterisk thump dash thump asterisk of your own heartbeat echoing too loudly in your helmet. Every instinct screams to turn back, to seek the fractured safety of the central end islands, but you tighten your grip on the fireworks in your sweating palm. This journey was chosen, prepared for with meticulous care and bone-deep respect for the void's indifference. Preparation wasn't just about cramming shulker boxes with stacks of rockets and the gleam of enchanted netherite, though those pragmatic bulwarks against oblivion fill your inventory with comforting weight. It was about etching constellations of torches on obsidian pillars, crafting spectral arrows to fire into the void as ephemeral breadcrumbs, and coding starburst patterns of dyed wool into your memory to triangulate a path home. Most crucially, it was about confronting the creeping dread that curls like cold mist through your gut when you stare too long into the abyss. You rehearsed this, slow breaths measured against the flicker of a candles in your overworld library, meditating on the vastness until fear dulled into a manageable hum beneath necessity. Survival here demands a marriage of a knight's readiness and a monk's equilibrium. One wrong turn, one misjudged rocket, one moment of panic, and the void folds over you like a shroud, leaving no trace. Flight becomes a grim ballet in this soundless cathedral. The elytra's fabric strains against the stillness, your trajectory a whispered calculation between conservation of momentum and the dwindling ordnance in your shulker boxes. You fire a rocket. The burst of phosphorus light startlingly loud in the silence, and your body lurches forward, gripping the shockwave as you rise. Efficiency is paramount. Dips are controlled, glides stretched impossibly thin until the descending arc forces another precious rocket into your fist. The world contracts to the crosshairs of your focus, the shimmering meter of your elytra's durability, the mental map of your woolen constellations slowly receding behind the distant, almost hallucinatory flicker that asterisk might asterisk the quartz from an end city spire piercing the gloom. False hope is poison here, a mirage of amethyst. A trick of the light refracting off unseen particles. You swerve toward it anyway, muscles coiled with the electric anticipation of asterisk something asterisk, asterisk anything asterisk, breaking the monotony. The void plays cruel games with distance. What seems minutes away can vanish like smoke or reveal itself as leagues beyond your dwindling supplies. But then there, a jagged silhouette against the eternal twilight. Obsidian pillars like rotten teeth erupting from a fragmented island, a lone end ship moored in the nothingness. Its hull groaning with phantom wind, adrenaline floods your system, a hunter's thrill momentarily silencing the void's whisper. You tilt forward, angling for descent, rockets momentarily. Forgotten, this is why you came. Riches weight coiled within those shadowed decks elytra perhaps, shimmering with breaking, the sacred totems clenched in skeletal fists. Shulker shells promising expanded horizons. But lurking amid the crumbling stone are sentinels of bone-white shell, guardians that defy the emptiness with their own perverse purpose. Shulkers, you spot the first one clinging to the underside of an arch, its shell a dead mimicry of the surrounding stone. Your breath catches. These aren't the overworld's mindless zombies or the nether's roaring brutes. Shulkers are patient, calculating, they don't charge. They asterisk and fold asterisk, levitating with eerie grace, their lid-like shells peeling back to reveal a sickly yellow glow before asterisk asterisk flip asterisk asterisk a bullet of pure levitation slams into your chest. Suddenly weightless, you flail. The world tilting sickeningly as you're wrenched upward, gravity's laws rewritten. The elytra strains, fighting the unnatural ascent. Instinct screams to shoot. to hack at the floating menace. But panic is the void's greatest weapon. Your sword finds its mark. The shulker recoiling with a hollow asterisk clang asterisk. But another projectile sears past your ear, painting the air with purple particles. You barrel roll, firing a rocket downward to counteract the lift. Your stomach lurching as conflicting forces battle for your bones. This is the outer end's cruel humor, loneliness shattered not by companionship, but by ambush in the desolation. Nearby, an enderman materializes from a swirl of particles, its obsidian skin drinking the dim light, a resonant asterisk WORP asterisk vibrating in your skull. Combat here isn't chaos. It's chillingly methodical. You snap your gaze downward, picking out a jagged platform for footing, all too aware that one misstep sends you tumbling into infinity. The dance begins anew, dodging levitation missiles, parrying the Enderman's flurry of strikes with well-timed blocks, each clash echoing like thunder in the quiet. Victory, when it comes, leaves you panting amid shattered shells and evaporating ender pearls, the metallic tang of blood on your lip from a graze you didn't feel in the frenzy. The silence rushes back, heavier now. Adrenaline fades, leaving behind a profound exhaustion amplified by the endless expanse pressing in from all sides. This is the moment the void whispers loudest. The hard-won Luda Dragon's Head trophy, a shulker box bulging with chorus fruit, feels suddenly trivial under the weight of absolute isolation. Hours blur, landmarks, carefully plotted, begin to swim in your vision. Was that one marker crimson or scarlet? Did you drift east after the 6th rocket? A creeping suspicion takes root. You're flying in circles. The sameness of the void erodes certainty. Time stretches, warps. Memories of vibrant biomes, of villagers murdering in candlelit huts, feel like half-remembered dreams. Some explorers speak of the voids or seeping into their thoughts, tinging waking visions with its purple haze, making the rustle of tree leaves sound like the hiss of rockets dying mid. Flight, sleep deprivation is the void's accomplice. In your self-built bunker cobbled from end stone, huddled beneath wool blankets that do nothing to stave off the metaphysical chill, you swear the shadows beyond your torchlight pulse. Phantom whispers chatter at the edge of hearing. Did that stack of rockets just shift? Is something asterisk moving asterisk in the perfect absence outside your walls? The mind rebels against nothingness, conjuring terrors to fill the void. Veteran wanderers tell hushed tales around nether portal campfires of miners who clipped through bedrock and fell screaming into limbo. Of architects so disoriented in the end's emptiness, they dismantled their own bridges, mistaking them for encroaching void. Of entire expeditions dissolving into paranoid infighting when the endless purple gnawed away their camaraderie. The outer end doesn't kill swiftly, it unravels you, strand by psychic strand, until you claw at the obsidian platform of the return portal like a madman, weeping with relief at the sickly green swirl of the end gateway. Yet and here lies the twist, only the bravest admit there's a perverse magnetism to this howling silence. Once the primal terror subsides, a strange clarity emerges, the void strips away distraction, the white noise of the overworld's teeming life, the nether's cacophony. Here, with only your breath and the rustle of elytra, thoughts crystallize. Architects bereft of inspiration speak of floating for hours, lulled by the rhythmic pulse of rockets, until groundbreaking base designs bloom full-fledged in their minds. Redstone engineers ensnared by complex circuitry find solutions unfolding with zen simplicity against the blank canvas of nothingness. Poets compose verses scratched onto maps, the emptiness lending weight to each chosen word. The void offers a retreat not from life, but from life's noise and enforced mindfulness, where every action, every whispered word to ward off the silence, resonates with amplified significance. To master this paradox, to find calm within the terror, is the outer end's ultimate trial. The greatest conquerors of the void aren't those who merely endure its emptiness, but those who reshape it. Imagine suspended on a scaffold of obsidian and end rods, you lay the first block. Not a desperate shelter, but a citadel born from defiance. Glass pillars plunge daringly into the abyss, lit by sea lanterns casting sapphire halos in the gloom. Farms for shulkers hum with eerie efficiency, They're bullets harvested for levitation potions that negate fall damage back home. Below your floating fortress, contraptions unfold piston-powered launchers hurling projectiles into the infinite. Minicart systems looping through nothingness on meticulously aligned powered rails, automated fireworks dispensers creating ephemeral art blooms against the void. The endless expanse becomes not a prison, but a proving ground. Racetracks etched with glowstone challenge friends to ELYTRA duels where the only walls are vertigo and nerve. Parkour courses materialize over the abyss, pressure plates triggering rocket resupplies mid-leap, capture the flag matches transform shulker bullets from weapons into hilarious transportation hazards. The void, once synonymous with loss, becomes a playground of pure potential. Here, unfettered by terrain, your creativity hangs raw in the vacuum, a middle finger to oblivion, so you return again and again, lacing up the ELYTRA with callous hands, stuffing rockets into packs with the solemn ritual of a pilgrim. Each expedition hones your instincts, reading the subtle shifts in the void's twilight for true north, anticipating shulker ambushes before their shells twitch, rationing supplies with ascetic precision. The fear never truly leaves, it mutates into a wary respect. The void is elemental, eternal. You are transient, fragile. Yet within that fragility lies the spark the void can never extinguish. The audacity to build, to invent, to asterisk impose meaning asterisk on the meaningless. Your wool markers fray, rockets dwindle, shulker scars notch your armor. But when you stand on the precipice, staring into the endless purple-black, you no longer see oblivion. You see possibility, austere and unforgiving, but vast as the cosmos. The void is not your enemy, it's the ultimate canvas. One deep breath, eyes forward, asterisk ignite the rocket, asterisk flight begins again, solitary and splendid, into the beautiful, terrible, and utterly fathomless unknown. The emptiness awaits, but this time, you carry the fire. Imagine stepping through that shimmering portal frame for the first time, the obsidian platform beneath your boots, the eerie chorus of Endermen echoing in the static-filled air, the vast nothingness stretching into an infinite starless night. You've conquered the Ender Dragon, collected your hard-won XP, watched the credits roll. And then you see them, those distant islands floating like broken teeth in an obsidian sea. You bridge your way across, heart pounding with anticipation of what wonders or horrors await in Minecraft's most mysterious dimension ... only to find more islands, and more nothing, and more. Until the crushing weight of emptiness becomes the only truth the Eder End seems willing to share. This deliberate void isn't accidental. It's a carefully crafted voidscape that has divided players for over a decade. A minimalist design choice that speaks volumes about how emptiness can shape our experience of digital worlds. Emptiness in games is never truly empty, you see. Like the pregnant pause in a symphony or the negative space in a painting, what isn't there often shouts louder than what is. Think of Shadow of the Colossus Forbidden Lands. Those windswept plains and crumbling ruins weren't just empty space between boss battles. They were a character in themselves, a melancholic mirror to Wander's isolation and desperation. The sheer scale made you feel insignificant. The silence made every footfall echo with purpose. Or consider Journey's endless desert, an ocean of sand where the absence of clear threads created tension through anticipation, where the loneliness forged unexpected connections with passing strangers. Empty spaces in games are a canvas where our imagination paints its most vivid fears and hopes, where the lack of visual noise heightens every whispered sound, every flicker of movement in the periphery. Psychologically, these voids trigger something primal, our brains. Evolutionarily wired to seek patterns and threats in ambiguous environments, go into overdrive. That shadow in the distance could be a resource cache, could be an ambush, could be nothing at all, but your pulse quickens anyway. The Outer End weaponizes this beautifully, turning the absence of content into an existential gameplay mechanic where the true monster is the void itself, always threatening to swallow your hard-earned loot if you misstep on those precarious bridges between islands. But let's rewind to 2011, to Mojang's original vision. When the end first materialized in Beta 1.9, it wasn't a dimension, it was a boss arena. A single obsidian platform beneath a floating crystal-festooned cage holding the dragon, surrounded by nothing but void and the faintest suggestion of distant landmasses. This wasn't laziness. It was minimalism with intent. Minecraft's entire aesthetic thrived on negative space, from the blocky simplicity of its textures to the loneliness of mining deep underground with nothing but torchlight and zombie groans for company. The end became the logical extreme of this design philosophy, a place where the absence of life, of terrain, of everything created a haunting beauty. The developers faced a delicate balancing act: how to make outer islands worth exploring without undermining the dragon's climactic battle. Their solution: make the journey itself the challenge. Those early outer islands, accessible only through the dangerous art of ender pearl tossing or meticulous bridge building across the void, weren't meant to be treasure troves. They were victory laps, mood pieces, places to test your courage and creativity. The chorus fruit you found, a whimsical, no reward that perfectly encapsulated Mojang's playful approach. Why clutter stark black rock with vegetation when emptiness could be the main attraction? Yet as Minecraft grew, so did player expectations. The Nether transformed from a hellish wasteland into a biome, rich underworld with fortresses, bastions, and whole civilizations. The overworld blossomed with coral reefs, ancient cities, and archaeological digs. Meanwhile, the outer end remained empty. Community reactions became a fascinating study in player psychology. Some found profound meditation in the void, building minimalist bases perched on island edges where they could contemplate the abyss. Others raged against the wasted potential, flooding forums with concepts for end biomes, floating continents with alien ecosystems, and Lovecraftian beasts lurking in the darkness. Updates like 1.9 tried to split the difference, introducing end cities with precious loot like shulker boxes and elytra, but anchoring them to specific islands surrounded by the same old nothing. The elytra particularly changed everything. Suddenly, that empty void wasn't just an obstacle, it was a playground. Players shot fireworks into the black, carving aerial acrobatics through dead space, transforming existential dread into exhilarating freedom. Still, the debate raged. Should Mojang preserve the end's haunting emptiness, or fill it with the same density of content expected elsewhere? The answer lies perhaps in understanding what made the end special in the first place. Its unsettling tranquility, its indifference to your presence. Now picture a future where Mojang listens to the loudest voices, where the outer end blooms with floating forests of course-like mangroves, where crystalline reefs pulse with bioluminescence, where cities dwarfing current and structures rise like obsidian mountains from the void. Imagine taking those iconic Enderman screeches and warping them into something new. Perhaps the whale song cries of void leviathans circling beneath the islands, never seen but deeply felt asterisk. Mods like End Reborn have already danced with these concepts, giving us gilded cities dripping with danger and beauty, creatures that phase through dimensions, plants that thrive on nothingness. But official expansions would need the Mojang touch, that subtle blend of simplicity and depth, like the way the Warden reimagined terror through sound rather than sight. Perhaps instead of surface-level spectacle, additions could deepen the end's thematic identity. Islands that drift according to unseen tides, pocket dimensions accessible only through sacrificial portals, corrupted dragon eggs with inexplicable properties. The danger lies in overstepping, in losing that breath-catching grandeur of infinite space. Yet there's middle ground to be found, where emptiness isn't eliminated but curated where islands feel deliberately barren rather than accidentally unfinished. Maybe Mojang could embrace procedural storytelling through geological formations, jagged rock spires suggesting ancient cataclysms, symmetrical obsidian circles hinting at long-vanished rituals. The beauty of Minecraft's design language is how it plants seeds for players' imaginations to cultivate. An end update wouldn't need to give us answers, it would need to give us better questions. So as we glide through that purple-black nothingness, elytra humming. Inventory packed with phantom membranes and dragon's breath. Perhaps the real magic of the outer end lies in what continues asterisk not asterisk to happen. That tension in your spine never quite leaves, does it, after all these years? That vast emptiness still feels like it might suddenly asterisk remember asterisk you're there. And isn't that the most incredible trick of all? To make absence feel like presence, to make silence roar louder than any boss theme, to keep millions of players nervously glancing over their shoulders at nothing but starless void, and loving every heartbeat it steals. Imagine stepping through the shimmering obsidian portal, leaving behind the lush greens and dappled sunlight of the overworld, trading birdsong for silence and warmth for a cold that seeps into your bones. Not from temperature, but from absence. This is the end, a shattered realm suspended in an eternal obsidian night, islands of barren stone floating like tombstones in an infinite void where stars refuse to shine. This is where Minecraft's grand adventure against the Ender Dragon takes place. But what if this ancient battlefield is just the beginning of a far deeper mystery? Beyond the central island where you battle the great winged beast lies an expanse known as the Outer End, an endless, empty horizon that challenges everything we think we know about this universe. The air here hums with unspoken questions. Why are we met with such crushing emptiness beyond the dragon's domain? What happened to this place before it was broken, before the silence settled in? And most tantalizing of all ... what waits for us in the void's endless dark? Let's begin our journey where all Ender eyes lead, to the cold facts we know from the game's own whispers. Look at the Endermen, those slender, dark figures clutching blocks with unnerving focus. These aren't mere monsters. They're refugees trapped in a dying dimension. In the scraps of lore we've gathered, these teleporting wanderers might hold the key. They didn't originate here. Their haunting presence suggests they fled some unknown cataclysm, arriving in the overworld only to find themselves hunted, misunderstood. But if the end is not their birthplace, who built the towering obsidian spires we scale in our final battle? What civilization carved the end stone under our boots? And where did they vanish? Consider the dragon, roaring guardian of this fractured realm. Think of her not as a mindless boss, but as a warden, perhaps even a prisoner. Her breath withers life, her wings cast shadows deeper than the void itself. But what if she serves a darker purpose? Those imposing exit portals crafted from her death cries aren't mere trophies. They feel like chains breaking, like the world gasping in relief. Could she be containing something far worse than herself in those distant, empty reaches? Her violent defense of this dead place takes on new light when you linger on the obsidian towers rising like jagged teeth around her island. Each one capped with an iron cage housing a crystal of raw energy. These aren't random spawn points. This is a machine, a mechanism designed with terrifying intent. Think of it as less a boss arena and more a containment field. The crystal's not healing her but sustaining a barrier, holding back ... something the game hasn't dared show us yet. Venture further, past her corpse and the gateway home, take that leap into the void between islands, and you'll find a silence so heavy it distorts thought. The Outer End sprawls before you, thousands of identical landmasses adrift like shattered glass from an exploded window. Yet nothing thrives here. No ancient cities hint at lost glory. No structures whisper of builders long, only the faint, haunting calls of Endermen echoing through the abyss, and below it all, the void, an endless drop into blackness that consumes everything, even light itself. This all. Consuming nothingness isn't just a gameplay boundary. It's the heart of the end's mystery. Empty space terrifies us because it mirrors our deepest fears of the unknown, of death's absolute finality. In mythologies across our world, the void is creation's cradle and apocalypse's endpoint. Norse legends speak of Ginnungagap, the yawning vacuum between fire and ice from which all life emerged, and to which all might return. Egyptian myths describe none, the dark primordial waters existing before time, a chaotic nothingness that still surrounds reality, threatening to dissolve it. Minecraft's Void feels like a digital incarnation of these ancient terrors. A reminder that beyond the comforting order of villages and farms, beyond even the hellish chaos of the Nether, lies an abyss that defies understanding. This isn't a place designed for players, it's a warning etched into the game's code. Asterisk, some frontiers are not meant to be crossed, asterisk. But legends are built by those who ignore warnings. Listen closely as you glide between islands on fragile elytra wings, and you'll hear stories tucked into the static. Rare glitches in the void have birthed whispered myths in the community, ghostly sounds with no source, flickering lights in the deep dark that vanish when you turn. Some claim to have seen structures out there where none should exist, lack pillars lower than the horizon, impossible angles shifting at the edge of vision, hints of movement in the void's infinite depths. Are they mirages born of loneliness in this desolate place? Or coded breadcrumbs hinting at deeper layers yet unrevealed? Consider to the chorus plants, those alien growths rising from end stone like skeletal hands reaching for absent sunlight. Their fruits offer teleportation when eaten, a power that feels foreign to this dead realm. Where did this transient flora come from? Its sudden explosive growth when harvested feels like a violent reaction, as if the plant itself is defending against intruders. Could these twisting stems be intruders themselves? Invasive species choking out whatever once grew here? Or are they remnants of the original builders, the last living inheritance of a lost civilization struggling to survive in the aftermath of an imaginable ruin? Let your mind wander further into speculation. If the Nether is a distorted reflection of our overworld, a place of fire and rage and reckless creation, what does that make the end? A graveyard, perhaps, a still photograph of a universe after its stars burned out. Or even more unsettling, a prison dimension. Think of the bedrock beneath the obsidian pillars, impossible to break, coded as an unchangeable foundation. Could these floating islands not be natural formations, but scattered pieces of a titanic structure deliberately shattered to prevent escape? The Ender Dragon's eternal patrol suddenly feels less like territorial aggression and more like patrolling the perimeter of a cosmic cell block. And what if she's not the only prisoner? Every Enderman's grief-stricken shriek when you meet its gaze could be mourning their shared captivity. Their whispered asterisk ... forever ... asterisk, not a threat, but a lamentation for eternity spent exiled in this hollow purgatory between worlds. Imagine ancient builders sealing away an unspeakable threat in the void, sacrificing their realm as a containment shell. They would have needed wardens enter the dragon, bound to this dead dimension, sustained by the very crystals that ensure the seal remains intact. Each defeated dragon releases the player back to the overworld through those starry portals. But what if those portals aren't exits, but vents? Pressure valves releasing built-up corruption so the prison doesn't rupture entirely. Killing the dragon might stabilize the dimension temporarily rather than truly beating it. Could this explain why the dragons? Death brings no sense of final victory, only uneasy relief. And if her sacrifice maintains the barrier? What consequences await if we somehow find a way past her domain, deeper into those barren outer islands and the blackness beyond? The absence of life in the outer end doesn't prove there's nothing out there, it suggests something took everything that was. Void isn't passive emptiness, but an active erasure, a conscious devouring of matter, memory, and meaning. Modern physics whispers about false vacuums and cosmic collapse events where existence itself unravels at light speed. Maybe the outer end is caught in such a disaster, frozen mid-apocalypse by the builder's desperate intervention. The void lapping at reality's edges like black ocean waves that never quite finish swallowing the shore. Now shift your gaze to the broader cosmology. The end doesn't exist in isolation. It's bound to the nether and overworld by celestial threads. Strongholds bridge the overworld to end portals. Nether highways link distant points in reality, but where do end gateways lead? These mysterious structures activate only after the dragons fall, their swirling vortexes hurling you thousands of blocks into the outer end's desolation. Unlike nether portals acting as doorways, gateways feel like one-way cracks torn through dimensions, a breach in a dam, not a door. Modders diving into Minecraft's code found unused structures labeled end cities and end ships long before their official edition. This suggests even developers once imagined depths hidden in the end that players hadn't yet seen. Could future updates add more layers to this desolation? Shadow cities half swallowed by void. Crumbling archives chronicling the dimension's doom. Sub-bosses guarding deeper thresholds. One community theory whispers of an end kinga being not dead like the dragon but dormant, chained somewhere in the void's heart, its nightmares bleeding through as Endermen. Others suggest a lost precursor race not gone but transformed, clinging to existence in the outer end's lonely expanses as beings of pure void energy. Each theory paints this empty realm not as a conclusion, but as a question mark echoing through Minecraft's code. Even the evolution of the end itself hints at unfinished history. Compare early versions lacking outer islands to today's vast, barren sprawl. Updates didn't remove mystery. They deepened it, scattering more islands as if developers want us to feel the oppressive weight of this place, its secrets retreating further the more we explore. This creeping expansion mirrors the void's nature, ever present, waiting to consume whatever we build, however high we climb on chorus fruit towers towards an absent sky. Step back, breathe. What does it mean that Minecraft's conclusion unfolds not in triumph, but trespassing? The credits rolling as we stand atop the exit portal, gazing back at the broken dimension we irrevocably altered. Philosophical parallels emerge, the end as death's inevitability, the void as the great unknown awaiting all things. In destroying the dragon, do we ensure the overworld's safety, or unknowingly accelerate the end times? The game refuses to answer, leaving only silence broken by Enderman's mournful cries. Imagine what lies beyond the outer end's visible islands. Past barriers only the bravest or most reckless explorers breach with endless bridge building and slow fall potions. Think of the far lands in older versions, that glitched horizon where physics fractured into surreal nightmares. The outer end's remotest islands might hold similar digital ghosts to spatial anomalies, blocks warped into impossible shapes. Colors bled pale by whatever lurks at reality's fraying edges. Modders already exploit these edges to create custom dimensions, proving Minecraft's engine can support far more than we've seen officially. Is Mohang quietly constructing something in those unseen depths, something vast and ancient stirring beneath layers of procedural generation? Or is the true horror that nothing waits out there, that the void is exactly what it seems, an infinite reminder that some things cannot be conquered? Consider this. In confronting the void, we confront Minecraft's core themes. Like life, the game balances creation against inevitable loss. We sculpt mountains and raise castles, yet creepers erase hours of work in seconds. The end embodies this fragility, the chilling truth that everything built will one day crumble into the void. Our survival mode victories are temporary reprieves, not final escapes from entropy. Maybe that's the outer end's true lesson, not to fear the void but to respect it, to recognize that meaning isn't found in avoiding the end but in what we create despite its inevitability. Yet we can't resist peering into that abyss for another reason. Same as our ancestors staring into starlight and weaving myths to explain the dark. We yearn for wonder, for proof that even emptiness holds secrets worth discovering. Perhaps the outer end is a mirror held up to us, reflecting our longing for mysteries grander than ourselves. It dares us to keep exploring, bridging gaps between islands, stacking blocks into the nothingness because the act of seeking matters more than any answer we might find. Every time we leap into the unknown without knowing what if anything awaits our fall, we echo humanity's oldest, bravest question, is anyone out there? Or is the silence itself the answer? ... Reality fades. You're floating between islands now. The dragon lies dead. The chorus fruit's sweet taste lingers beneath your boots, and stone crumbles into void black nothing. Shadows shift at the edge of vision. A distant sound like stone scraping stone echoes from beyond the island chain. Is it a glitch, a hidden structure, or just the wind sighing through dead men's bones? In the end, we may never know for sure. And that terrifying, beautiful uncertainty is why we'll always keep searching, building bridges across the dark, one block at a time. Imagine standing at the precipice of nothingness, your feet hovering over an infinite drop into absolute void. This is Minecraft's outer end, a realm where the absence of everything becomes its own kind of presence. But this unsettling emptiness isn't unique to Minecraft. Across the digital landscape, game developers have long wielded void spaces as narrative weapons, environmental metaphors, and technical challenges. What separates a haunting emptiness from a frustrating one? Why do some barren digital wastelands fill us with awe while others leave us cold? Let's wander together through these cryptic non-spaces, from Silent Hill's fog-choked streets to the existential dread of Dark Souls' fallen kingdoms, dissecting how games manipulate emptiness to make us feel everything. Consider Silent Hill first. That iconic fog doesn't just obscure visibility. It preys on your psyche, thick, swirling gray blankets the town like a suffocating shroud. Every muted footstep on cracked asphalt amplifying your isolation. You see shapes in the mist or think you do, their silhouettes dissolving as you approach, leaving you questioning your sanity. This emptiness is alive with absence. Every crumbling building and rusted car hinting at stories untold, tragedies buried beneath layers of static on your flickering radio. The fog isn't just a technical trick to hide. Draw distances. It's a character in itself, whispering that you're utterly alone. Or maybe not alone enough. Contrast this with Journey's windswept dunes, those endless golden waves stretching toward distant mountains. Here, silence isn't oppressive, but meditative. The vastness invites introspection, your scarlet scarf fluttering like a solitary heartbeat against an ocean of time. The emptiness cradles you, spaces between dunes humming with forgotten songs carried on the wind. You leave footprints in the sand that vanish moments later, a transient pilgrim in an eternal desert, finding purpose not in clutter, but in the quiet between notes. And then there's Dark Souls, where emptiness means desolation carved into stone. Anne Orlando's hollowed cathedrals loom with skeletal grandeur, sunlight streaming through broken stained glass to illuminate dust motes dancing above blood-stained marble. You wander through tombs pretending to be cities, every echoing footstep underscoring the irreversible decay. This emptiness isn't just visual, it's woven into the lore like rot in wood kingdoms undone by their own gods, leaving players to traverse carcasses of civilizations that were monstrous even in their prime. Shift your perspective now to the technical wizardry conjuring these voids. No Man's Sky offers galaxies of procedurally generated planets where valleys stretch into oblivion, alien rock formations dissolving into misty horizons. But sometimes that algorithm churns out valleys so vast and repetitive you feel like a flea on a cosmic treadmill. Infinite worlds exposing the limitations of mathematical creation when divorced from human intention. Compare this to Skyrim's invisible walls and loading zones disguised as mountain passes, a handcrafted world pretending to breathe where cracks in the illusion still show. At least you know where the boundaries lie. There's comfort in knowing the map ends. But Minecraft's outer end disrupts everything we've learned about digital borders. Stand at the edge of the central island, throw an ender pearl into that cosmic inkwell, and watch its pale trajectory vanish into pure nothingness, a void not generated or masked, but declared. Stark and unapologetic, it leans into its artificiality, rejecting realistic skyboxes for an anti-sky, an existential trapdoor yawning beneath the player like a question without an answer. Now engage your survival instincts. How do we as players find meaning in these crafted voids? Fallout's wastelands teach us to equate emptiness with hidden treasure. A collapsed supermarket isn't barren, it's a riddle. That pre-war skeleton clutching a shopping list next to an irradiated tin can. That tells a story more vivid than 3 pages of dialogue. You become an archaeologist of apocalypse, scanning dead horizons for the glint of a filing cabinet containing duct tape and heartbreak. The emptiness compels you forward by promising shards of connection in the rubble. The long dark takes this further, weaponizing emptiness through survival mechanics. Every frozen forest clearing demands you confront scarcity woodpile locations burned into your memory. every discarded rag precious. The white void beyond your cabin windows isn't scenery. It's an enemy that pierces your parka and steals your warmth with each howling gust. Here, emptiness has teeth, making your struggle against nothingness the entire narrative. Now revisit Minecraft's Ended Arena design not for survival but cosmic confrontation. Those obsidian pillars rise like grim gravestones, barren islands floating in an ocean of void. The emptiness here is the end credits rolling after the boss fight or the moment you fall off the edge realizing you didn't bring chorus fruit. Players hate or love this space because it denies immediate utility. It's the anti-overworld, rejecting the miner's instinct to gather and build, instead confronting us with a vacuum where only two things matter: the Ender Dragon's heartbeat and your ability to not look down. So what wisdom can future game designers siphon from these digital silences? First, emptiness must serve intention. Silent Hill's fog terrifies because it hides what the game knows you fear most: your own imagination. No Man's Sky's algorithmic desserts sometimes bore because quantity replaces crafted resonance. Minecraft's Void succeeds by being intentionally anti-functionalist space that forces players into uncomfortable awareness of the game's own boundaries. Second, balance desolation against discovery. Players need breadcrumbs, whether Fallout's environmental storytelling or Journey's mysterious glyphs shimmering beneath sand. Pure emptiness is a locked door. Context is the key. Dark Souls understands this perfectly. Its ruins are littered with cryptic statues and fractured lore tablets, giving just enough story to make the overwhelming emptiness ache with significance. Third, embrace the unnatural. Skyrim's mountains feel fake not because they're impassable, but because they pretend otherwise. Minecraft's End flaunts its artificiality with theatrical flair. The void doesn't disguise itself as cosmic gas or nebulae. It's a black curtain pulled taut behind the stage, reminding you this is a constructed cosmos where the rules can break at any moment. Imagine future games borrowing this Courage Battlegrounds designed with minimalist audacity. Survival horrors where fog doesn't mask technical limitations, but enhances narrative claustrophobia. Open worlds brave enough to include truly unmarketable voids, forcing players to slow down and feel the weight of their own footsteps. Picture Minecraft integrating Fallout's environmental vignettes, frozen moments, lost Endermen civilizations preserved on obsidian monoliths, or Skyrim learning from the End's purity, replacing false vistas with boundaries both honest and haunting. Envision a game where stepping into emptiness triggers not a generic "you can't go here" message, but unique monologues from your character: fear, wonder, existential vertigo morphing based on your journey thus far. This possible evolution hangs in the air like the last note of a piano before silence reclaims it, the understanding that emptiness isn't a limitation to solve, but a language to master. So we return to where we began, staring into Minecraft's abyss, feeling that primal stir in our lizard brains, warning us away from the edge even as we inch closer. What gives these voids their strange magnetism? It's the same force that pulls us toward abandoned houses at midnight or vast deserts under starlight, a confrontation with the unfillable. That sacred terror whispering that sometimes existence isn't about accumulating stuff, but about standing small against the infinite. These games succeed not by filling emptiness, but by helping us see its contours, transforming absence into a mirror where we glimpse our own fragile humanity reflected in the digital dark. The next time you find yourself at the edge of a virtual abyss, whether in fog or void or frozen waste, don't just rush through, linger. Let the emptiness breathe. Watch the pixels not rendered, listen to the audio not playing, feel the weight of the billion possibilities the developers chose not to include. That moment where the game ends and your imagination begins is where true immersion lives. Because every empty space in every game is ultimately the same, an unfinished sentence waiting for you, the player, to give it meaning with your fear, your curiosity, your courage to step into the unknown, unwritten dark beyond the screen's edge. Imagine standing on the crumbling edge of an obsidian platform, the void yawning beneath your boots like an infinite black ocean. Single misstep, one careless glance away from oblivion, and your hard-worn gear becomes meaningless, stardust scattered across the nothingness. Welcome, survivor. to the outer end, where the rules of survival rewrite themselves with every echoing shriek of an Enderman and every ominous click of a shulker levitating in the shadows. This is not the overworld, not the Nether's predictable hellscape, but a dimension where gravity itself feels like a negotiable concept and the very air hums with unseen threats. So breathe deep, steady your trembling hands, and let's weave your fragile existence into the fabric of this alien realm. Because out here, knowledge isn't just power, it's the thin silk thread keeping you from joining the void's ghostly chorus. Before you leap through that shimmering portal, before the obsidian frame swallows you whole, understand this. The difference between triumph and a respawn screen lies in the weight of your pack and the cunning in your preparations. Picture your inventory not as a haphazard collection of tools, but as a painter's palette where every slot holds the pigment of survival's slow-falling potions. Those swirling vials of violet salvation are your parachutes in a world without ground, turning lethal plunges into graceful descents where you can actually laugh at the gaping void below under chests. Obsidian-lined treasure boxes humming with interdimensional magic become your soul anchors, allowing you to stash duplicates of your most precious gear. A second elytra folded like a dragonfly's wing, a backup sword sharpened to a molecular edge. Bundles of golden carrots still glistening with overworld dew, because when a shulker's projectile corrodes your chest plate or an enderman's fury shatters your last pickaxe, that ender chest isn't just storage, it's a phoenix nest ready to resurrect your fighting chance. And then there are blocks, simple, unassuming blocks, stacks upon stacks of them, cobblestone quarried from mountain hearts, netherrack from forge hot wastes, even, and stone itself. Coarse and whispering with void-touched energy, these are your lifelines, your instant bridges over infinity, your emergency barricades against projectile-happy shulkers nesting in and city towers. Imbalance your pack with too many weapons, and you'll weep when stranded on an isolated island with no path forward. Skimp on blocks, and you'll learn firsthand how quickly hope evaporates when you're marooned on a floating shard of rock. Watching ships draped in purple sails float just out of building range but blocks alone can't save you from the end's cruelest joke, those fluffy, innocent-looking beds you'd snuggle into back home. Here, they're volatile explosives disguised as respawn points, because the end rejects overworld comforts with violent prejudice. Place one down, try to click it gently, and you'll ignite a detonation powerful enough to fling you into orbit. Use them not for sleeping, but as landmines against charging endermen, or, if you're feeling particularly dramatic, as a parting gift to an end city's outer walls. Now, consider your wings that glorious elytra strapped to your back. Leathery membrane catching the updrafts of nothingness, it lets you soar between islands like an ender dragon in miniature. Yes, but one misfired firework, one clipped wingtip against an end rod, and suddenly you're tumbling. This is why your boots must always kiss solid ground with backup rockets in an accessible hotbar slot. Why you practice mid-air U-turns over the safety of your home island's obsidian platform, and if the worst happens, if your wings shred mid-flight and islands blur beneath you like skipped stones, slow fall, gulp that potion mid-plummet, feel its lavender magic thicken the air around you, turn your body into a feather, but potions run out. Wings decay always, always, have an ender pearl clenched in your fist when leaping between distant landmasses. Yes, its teleportation might nauseate you, might deposit you half inside a chorus tree with limbs faced through bark, but better disoriented and whole than a red smear on some faraway pillar. Alright, you packed like a paranoid quartermaster, your breath fogging the inside of your helmet as you step through the portal. The obsidian platform materializes underfoot, the central island's bedrock fountain looming in the distance. But now the real test begins, because out here, in the fractured archipelago of the outer islands, navigation isn't just about not getting lost, it's about not surrendering your sanity to Thefetureless. Star-pocked expanse, the overworld has sun and moon. The nether has its eerie glow, the end has void, and more void, punctuated by occasional porous forests that all look identical under the sickly purple light. So you must become a cosmic sailor, reading the skies like ancient mariners look up. Those faint constellations aren't decoration, they're your lodestones. Pick a particularly vivid cluster, name it the Dragon's Claw or the Shattered Bridge, mark its position relative to your home base when horizons bleed into sameness. Tilt your head back and let those stars guide you. If starlight fails, perhaps a thick chorus canopy blocks your view. Switch to cold mathematics. Coordinates are your lifeline. The X and Z burned into your memory like a prayer. Delta calculations become second nature if your base sits at 750, 1200 and you stumble upon an end city at minus 920, 980. You can feel the northwest pull in your bones, but numbers fade under adrenaline. Build monuments to orientation in every few chunks. Stack obsidian or purpur into a towering pillar crowned with a torch flower beacon. These skeletal sentinels pierce the foggy sightlines, glowing dots drawing you home like moth to flame. More for true permanence. Carve another portal. Style path, place soul sand trails that glow teal in the darkness, or dig trenches through endstone filled with shimmering amethyst shards. Every marker tells a story. This jagged obsidian spire means safe zone ahead. That ring of floating lanterns signals shulker ambush nearby soon. Even the void starts feeling like a neighborhood you've mapped in your dreams, but overconfidence. That's the end's favorite prey. Imagine this, you're 5,000 blocks out, hopping islands draped in chorus vines. Your inventory groaning with looted elytra and shulker shells. Then crack your last pickaxe handle splinters mid-leap. You barely scramble onto a tiny island no wider than a kitchen table. No blocks left to bridge, no wood for tools. Your ender chest gleaming mockingly from an island 30 blocks away. This is where survival graduates from tactics to artistry look around. Do chorus plants sprout here? Harvest them, devour their fibrous fruits. Yes, the random teleportation might spike your heartbeat, might throw you sideways into another island or, horrifyingly, toward the void, but calculated nibbles can reposition you within bridging distance of safety. Or perhaps endermen stalk this outcrop, stand under a 2-block high ceiling, stare into their glowing eyes when they charge. Dodge, they'll inadvertently pick up and drop blocks of endstone, giving you precious material to extend your island. It's desperate, brutal work, every action calibrated to stave off the void's whisper, but in these moments, stranded with nothing but cunning. You forge the instincts that transform survivors into void legends, now weapons up because the end doesn't let you breathe. Easy combat here is a high-wire act where the abyss is both spectator and arena. Picture this, you're traversing a narrow bridge you built hours ago, and stone blocks reflected infinitely in the darkness below. A chorus fruits distant, pop, then another shulkers. There, shells peeling open like grotesque flowers, levitating toward you with predatory grace. Their projectiles don't just hurt, they curse you with levitation, peeling your boots off the ground, floating you helplessly while more projectiles home in. Here's your play, shield up, but not to block, angle it downward like a skateboarder's ramp, letting the glowing missile deflect into the void door. Sidestep, letting it strike the bridge beside you. But shulkers often travel in packs, their shots layering like oppressive orchestra notes. This is when slow falling potions double as combat tools. Leap toward them, drinking the potion midair. Shulkers can't tilt their shells vertically, hover above them, raining arrows into their exposed course. Feel the satisfaction as their shells disintegrate into precious shards. You've turned their altitude advantage into a fatal weakness, but shulkers are mere sentries. The true emperors of End City combat are the endermen, tall, brooding, and hypersensitive to eye contact on narrow ledges. One glance can trigger their wrath, so fight like a samurai. Keep your gaze locked at their torsos, peripheral vision tracking their twitchy limbs. Water becomes your ELYTRA, a bucket at your feet, creating a shallow moat. Endermen recoil from liquid like vampires from sunlight, hissing at the edges, but water is scarce here, so abuse height. Endermen can't teleport vertically. If you perch on a pillar 3 blocks high, pepper them with arrows until their health bars flicker, then finish them with a crit plunge attack. Just ensure your pillar is *5 blocks tall. If engaging multiple, they'll teleport onto adjacent towers. Purple particles swirling and attack from all sides. Knock back the void's favorite executioner, a stray arrow, a misjudged shield bash. Even a shulker's levitation curse can drift you into oblivion, so enchant your armor with feather falling for, turning lethal falls into mere ankle sprains. But enchantments can't save you from a direct hit. Here's the golden rule, never engage while standing on the edge, fight back too, while literally placing blocks behind you as you advance and against skeletons or pillagers whose arrows carry punch. Time your dodges like a matador. Sidestep at the twang of their bows. Let momentum be your dance partner, Low visibility, whether from Enderman teleportation dust or the End's natural gloom turns city raids into horror shows. Bring night vision potions? Yes, but conserve them. Alternative. Torches aren't futile. Place them on asterisk left asterisk. Hand walls only as you penetrate deeper. Follow the glow to escape later. Listen, the End murmurs warning. Shulker's brittle clicks echo farther than you think. Enderman's distorted groans reveal their numbers in pitch black corridors. Use sonic mapping. Throw snowballs packed in that ender chest down halls. Their impact sounds. Paint mental images of enemy positions or drop an item. A single rotten flesh to bait Enderman into teleporting toward it, clustering them for splash potion damage. Finally, blood pumping. Loot secured. You gaze back at your starting platform, a purple speck in the starfield, but what if you didn't retreat? What if you asterisk stayed asterisk, carving a home from the void's jaws? Long term residence demands reinventing survival food. First chorus, fruit nourishes but teleports. Farm them anyway. Plant stalks on end stone. Far from base edges, harvest only the uppermost fruits. Lower ones become sapling. Supplement with cured zombie flesh traded from cleric villagers brought through the portal. Yes, curing takes time, but golden carrots won't sprout in end stone. Resources. Shulkers are your plastic, steel, and duct tape. Their shells. Craft boxes that defy gravity's inventory rules, but to farm them ethically. Yes, we're sentimental. Build a chamber with piston extenders. Lure a shulker in. Trap it. Let its duplicate projectiles spawn new ones. Grindstone the excess into shells. Use them. Asterisk use them. Asterisk store cobblestone stacks in shulker boxes labeled bridge fuel. Ender pearls in emergency teleports. Chorus fruit in risk snacks. Color code them with dyes pillaged. From End City chests, a yellow box for tools, red for combat potions. Soon, your Ender chest isn't just storage, it's a fractal warehouse with endless nested compartments. But buildings, here's where creativity soars. Void. Proof your base by extending foundations 5 blocks inward from edges. Double wall critical areas. Enderman can't teleport into waterlogged spaces, so line gaps between walls with submerged kelp for aesthetics. Blend purple pillars with end rods. Soft glow create vaulted ceilings where phantoms dare not spawn. And safety build airlock style air pockets around exits. Pressure plates triggering piston doors. Retractable bridges controlled by redstone torches, because sometimes the greatest threat isn't monsters, it's your own sleep deprived stumble toward the void after hours of farming. Install lava cascades around your perimeter, not for defense, but to spare when lever pulled. They pour over windows. Ceiling breaches with impenetrable obsidian, but obsidian takes time, so keep water buckets ready to smother fireballs from ghastly intruders. Yes, rare but disastrous. Finally, gardens not of wheat or beetroot, but of chorus flowers. Their fractal branches against the starscape. Bioluminescent glow softening the base's harsh line. Sit on a purple step, biting into chorus fruit jam smeared on cured flesh. Stare into the infinite tan. Smile because you haven't just survived the void, you've tamed it. Made it sing your name between the shulker shells and ender whispers. This is living not in spite of the void, but asterisk because asterisk of it a testament to preparation, adaptability, and that flickering spark of defiance that says I belong here. So go on, build higher, fly farther. The End isn't your executioner anymore, it's your canvas painted. Boldly imagine standing at the edge of everything where reality itself seems to fray like worn fabric. Where islands of end stone float suspended in an eternal indigo twilight, drifting silently through a sea of stars so distant they feel less like celestial bodies and more like memories of light scattered across the infinite. This is the outer end, not just a dimension in Minecraft, but a cosmic blank page drenched in paradox, a place where emptiness doesn't signify absence but overflows with creative possibility. Where the void between islands isn't a threat but an invitation to reimagine beauty itself. Here, in this realm of whispering shadows and cathedral silence, players don't just build, they compose symphonies of stone and light against the grandest canvas imaginable, nothingness. Let's embark on a journey through this haunting emptiness, discovering how its vast, melancholic silence sparks fires of creativity brighter than any nether blaze. How its desolation becomes a language artists speak fluently, transforming bleakness into elegance, terror into awe, and infinite space into a playground where imagination isn't just unleashed, it soars. Close your eyes just for a moment and let the palette of the End wash over you. Not the riotous greens of jungles or the crude red violence of the nether, but a symphony of twilight, deep, velvety purples that seem to vibrate with latent energy, blacks so profound they swallow light whole, punctuated by the delicate shimmer of end rods, those slender beacons casting pools of ethereal lilac glow like spells stardust upon obsidian floors. This isn't darkness as we fear it, but darkness as an artist's foundational wash, a backdrop that makes every fleck of light feel sacred. The color theory here isn't accidental. Those purples resonate with mystery, mysticism, a touch of royalty bleeding into the void. Well, the voids between islands aren't empty but textured with distant stars rendered in minimalist speckles, creating depth through subtlety. And then the chorus plants, those alien growths rise like petrified songbirds mid-melody, their pale lavender hues glowing faintly, offering soft contrast to the stern end. Stone, when struck, they dissolve into petals that spiral upward, nature's own confetti celebrating transience in a realm obsessed with eternity. Every visual element here conspires to create a hypnotic sense of otherworldliness. A dreamscape where shadows breathe in, light doesn't illuminate but enchants, making even the simplest cobblestone path feel like a bridge across galaxies. Now envision the lighting, the lighting. In the overworld, daylight floods indiscriminately, exposing every detail. But here in the end, illumination becomes drama. And rods sculpt darkness into shapes, their soft glows carving intimate alcoves of warmth in the vast cold, while the void itself remains an impenetrable abyss yawning just beyond the island's edges. This interplay between light and shadow isn't just functional, it's theatrical. Builds here aren't merely seen, they're experienced. A single end rod lamp flickering aboard a floating airship transforms it into a ghost vessel adrift in cosmic seas. Obsidian pillars become monoliths whispering secrets to the stars when backlit by carefully placed shroom lights. Players sculpt not just structures but moods, using darkness as their clay. Picture a lone figure, your avatar standing atop a glass platform, nothing below but the infinite void. And above, a chandelier of end rods refracting light into lavender fractals across their armor. In that moment, you aren't just playing Minecraft. You're composing a visual poem in the language of absence. Now, step back wider and behold the landscape's minimalist majesty. The outer end offers no forests to obscure sightlines, no mountains to constrict ambition, no oceans to drown concepts. It gives creators something priceless, negative space. Those barren end stone plains aren't desolate, they're pristine, awaiting transformation like fresh snow accepting the first footprint. Here, simplicity becomes power. A single obsidian spire rising from an island's edge acquires monumental gravitas simply because nothing competes with it. No trees whisper distractions, no rivers murmur objections. This void demands intentionality. Every block placed becomes a deliberate stroke in a Zen garden scale to the universe. And therein lies the magic, limitation breeding innovation. When you can't rely on overworld's natural clutter for charm, you invent enchantment. A floating ring of purple blocks catches the eye not because it's ornate, but because it defies gravity with elegant audacity. A chorus fruit orchard gains surreal beauty because its vibrant purple pops violently against the void's monochrome dignity. This is minimalism not as absence, but as discipline, a challenge whispering to every builder. Asterisk, make me care. Asterisk and oh, how creators answer that call. Imagine standing on the precipice of your own floating island, peering into the abyss below, a drop with no bottom, only an ever deepening indigo that seems to pulse like the throat of some sleeping leviathan. This is the architect's ultimate thrill, the defiance of gravity itself. In the overworld, buildings root themselves to the earth, baking stability. Here, foundations are illusions, creativity takes literal flight. Picture a spiraling citadel, no ground beneath its lower levels. Just open void where bridges of end stone ribbon between towers, not because they must, but because they dare asterisk. Or a botanical garden suspended beneath an island's underside. Glass domes blooming with warped fungi and chorus flowers, glowing softly like bioluminescent jellyfish adrift in a midnight ocean. The void doesn't limit construction, it liberates it, urging builders to think in 3 dimensions unfettered by terrain. Even the materials themselves sing of this weightlessness. Purple blocks with their smooth, alien elegance, chorus plants that seem to grow toward the void rather than the sun, and rods emitting light without fires. Comforting crackle. Everything here rejects the overworld's logic, inviting creators to build like gods, conjuring dreams in deep space. But material is just half the alchemy. The real sorcery lies in thematic resonance. Consider purple blocks. Their regal hue and ornate texture don't just look alien. They whisper of lost civilizations, of Enderman architects who might have once carved palaces from void stuff itself. Clever builders amplify this storytelling. A crumbling purple fortress half swallowed by the void suggests fallen empires. Geodesic domes fashioned from purple and glass evoke observatories where ancient star readers charted cosmic tides. And chorus plants, once mere decorative flora, in visionary hands they become the beating heart of builds. Imagine a chorus reactor, a central core of pulsating purple stems fed by pistons, surrounded by humming redstone machinery, its blossom-like pods releasing particle effects like breath into vacuum. Or a cathedral where chorus trees rise instead of pillars, their natural curves mirroring Gothic arches, their faint glow replacing stained glass's brilliance with organic luminescence. Even the humble end stone transcends its drabness when used, and must say its pockmarked surface perfect for crafting moonscape ruins or meteor. Battered citadels clinging to existence at reality's frayed edge. Now let's tour the galleries. Imagine Player A's masterpiece, the Symphony of Silence, a colossal amphitheater carved from blackstone and crying obsidian. Its stage jutting precariously over the void where a single grand piano rests beneath a canopy of end rods, their light pulling on sheet music frozen in mid-flutter. It sits empty. Yet anyone standing there hears phantom music, the builder's genius forcing your mind to compose the silence into imagined notes. Then Player B's vision, the endless library, hundreds of floating bookshelves orbiting a central spire via slime block mechanisms, each shelf carrying enchanted books whose titles flicker in Enderman script, the whole structure rotating slowly like some celestial orrery of forgotten lore. Or Player C's haunting garden of unfinished dreams, floating islands each bearing half-completed builds, a mansion missing walls, a ship with phantom sails all connected by frail glass bridges, embodying the melancholy of abandoned creativity in an indifferent universe. These aren't structures, they're manifestos proving that emptiness doesn't stifle inspiration, it focuses it like a lens, turning every block into a deliberate word in a sonnet sung to the void. Now shift perspective. The Outer End's void isn't just for building, it's the ultimate soundstage. Imagine filming here. No need for green screens or mods when the endless abyss itself becomes your backdrop. Machinima creators weave tales of cosmic horror where protagonists drift through asteroid fields of endstone, pursued by Endermen whose whispers echo unnaturally in the vacuum. Romance blooms in floating gardens where lovers meet between dimensions, their dialogue punctuated by the hollow asterisk pop asterisk of chorus fruit bursting in the distance. Adventure maps exploit the void's psychological weight, brilliantly traverse crumbling bridges where one misstep plunges you not into lava, but into bottomless nothingness. Your fall lasting just long enough to invoke primal vertigo before respawn. Even YouTubers harness the ambient time-lapse builds, gain gravitas when sunrise transitions aren't needed. Just the static beauty of an endless twilight and the hypnotic dance of end rod lighting shifting as structures rise. And the narratives, oh, the narratives. The end breeds stories like mold and damp haze, inevitable, pervasive, transformative. Picture a roleplay series. A lone explorer navigating the islands in an airship cobbled from purple and phantom membranes, decoding Enderman runes etched into obsidian monoliths that hint at the dragon's true purpose, guardian not of treasure, but of some cosmic secret best left buried. Or a survival series beginning with a deliberate decision asterisk, I will not return to the overworld. I will carve civilization from the void. Asterisk watches over episodes. Our hero farms chorus fruit beneath artificial suns. Trades with lone Enderman merchants who teleport in with rare void caught loot. battle shulkers not for loot but for building materials to repair their floating bastion against piratical phantom raids. The isolation sharpens every interaction. A single torch's light feels like companionship. A misplaced block gone forever into the chasm becomes tragic. This isn't gameplay, it's existential theater where every resource gathered, every mob battled, resonates tenfold against the void's indifferent majesty. Then comes horror, the genre the end was born to host. Forget Nether's visceral gore. Here terror is psychological, creeping. Play an adventure map where you wake amnesiac on a tiny island, surrounded by floating lanterns that flicker and die one by one, revealing whispering endermen materializing ever closer with each extinguished light. Or a multiplayer mod where the void itself hunts players, stretching tendrils of darkness to erode builds block by invisible block unless you placate it with rare crystals attuned to its alien consciousness. Or simplest yet most potent, stand alone beneath obsidian pillars in survival mode. The dragon slain, no sound but your breath and the faint hum of end portals, and feel the profound dread of being the only thinking thing in a universe that neither knows nor cares you exist. That's horror no jump scare can match. It's the horror of cosmic insignificance. And creators weaponize it masterfully. Now pause. Compare. The Nether's hellish grandeur almost feels obvious. Fire and brimstone, fortresses bursting through crimson forests like demonic spines, magma oceans hissing threats. It's claustrophobic, its tunnels pressing in, its ceilings low enough to suffocate ambition. The end is its mirror opposite, agoraphobia incarnate. Where Nether corners you, the end releases you into too much space, too much freedom. Nether's heat screams immediacy. The end's chill murmurs eternity. And what of the overworld? Blissfully diverse, chaotically alive jungles tangled with noise, snowy peaks piercing clouds, oceans hiding drowned secrets. But that richness spoils us. The overworld forgives lazy builds, hide a cobble box behind a hill and nature decorates it. The end forgives nothing. There's no foliage to soften edges, no water to mask mistakes. Emptiness becomes the ultimate critic, demanding excellence. Where overworld builds blend, and builds blaze singular statements against endless night, and emotions shift with these contrasts. The Nether sparks adrenaline, fear of ghost fireballs, joy of strider rides across lava seas. The overworld nurtures contentment, fishing at dawn, bees humming through flowered meadows, but the end, it incites introspection. That expanse forces you inward to ponder mortality when staring into the abyss, to question creation when placing the first block on virgin and stone. Wander here long enough, and the game's usual gold's diamonds dear feel trivial. What's wealth in a place where time itself seems frozen? Here, you build not for utility, but legacy, to say asterisk, I was here asterisk, to an uncaring universe. Only in the end do players confront Minecraft's deepest question. Without mobs to fight or resources to hoard, why create? And the answer resonates in every floating castle and void. Spanning bridge because creation is defiance. Because beauty doesn't need a point. Because even in emptiness, we can't resist whispering, asterisk, I am dot asterisk, so where does this leave us? At the journey's end, paradoxically, just past its beginning, the outer end isn't a conclusion. It's an overture to creativity unfettered, proof that limitation births genius and emptiness overflows with potential. Those islands adrift in star-studded void aren't remnants of something lost, but seeds of something imagined. Every player who ventures here becomes an artist, whether piecing together stark purple sculptures against an infinite backdrop, filming haunting narratives in the silence, or simply standing breathless at the precipice, feeling both microscopic and godlike in the cosmic scale. Minecraft is many things: a survival challenge, a social space, a redstone engineer's playground. But in the end's violet twilight, it reveals its deepest truth. It's the universe's greatest sketchbook, and the void isn't oblivion. It's the blank page waiting for us to declare. Once more, asterisk, let there be light. Asterisk now, dear creators, step to the edge. Trust the emptiness, and leap. Imagine standing at the fraying edge of Minecraft's known reality. your boots scraping against the final block of obsidian as you stare into the infinite blackness of the end's outer voided digital abyss that swallows light, sound, and hope itself. You've conquered the Ender Dragon. Looted end cities, perhaps even built bridges across the starless expanse between islands. But this emptiness ahead feels different. It's not just an absence of blocks. It's a calculated void, a deliberate nothingness sculpted by lines of code humming in the game's engine. Today, we're diving beyond the islands, beyond the particles and purple haze, into the very algorithms that define this crushing emptiness. We'll unravel how terrain generation slams to a halt like an emergency brake, why no creatures dare spawn in this silent graveyard, and what truly happens to your avatar when gravity loses all meaning and the void claims you. This isn't just a story of darkness, it's a tale of computational ingenuity, of developers wrestling with the paradox of creating emptiness through an engine designed to generate endless possibility. Every world in Minecraft begins with noise, mathematical chaos tamed into mountains, rivers, and caves through a symphony of algorithms, but the outer end defies this fundamental rule. As you sail through the islands on your meticulously crafted ELYTRA path, your game isn't merely loading chunks. It's engaged in a high-wire act of resource management. Beyond the last scattered end stone, the terrain generator halts abruptly, not with a whimper, but with a precision strike. Each chunk outside the designated playable radius is flagged as void, a placeholder state that tells the engine asterisk not asterisk to calculate biomes. Not to place blocks, not to waste even a single processor cycle on pretending this darkness holds secrets. This isn't laziness. It's a masterstroke of optimization. A normal Minecraft world continuously expends resources generating forests and deserts you might never visit. But in the end, the engine knows there is nothing to see. By defining vast swaths of the dimension as permanently empty, the game preserves precious memory for the delicate dance of the central island's floating monoliths held aloft by procedural generation while everything else dissolves into efficient silence. The void isn't an accident. It's a shield against computational overload, a firewall against the infinite demanding to exist. Yet emptiness isn't merely the absence of land, it's the stifling of life itself. Venture far enough into the void, and you'll notice the eerie stillness extends beyond the lack of terrain. No Endermen teleport into your periphery. No shulkers cling to phantom walls. This desolation is enforced by ruthless spawning restrictions hard-coded into the game's logic. Ordinarily, Minecraft's entity spawning system scans the environment for valid locations, grass for passive mobs, dark corners for monsters, but in the outer end's void, these checks hit a wall. No solid ground means no spawnable surfaces, and the game enforces strict altitude limits that exile any creature foolish enough to materialize where the rules of physics fray. Even the rare end cities and their ghostly ships defy the void by existing only within carefully curated bounds, their generation rarity tightened to ensure they feel like miracles rather than expectations. Modders who dare populate this wasteland face an uphill battle. Tinkering with spawn rules via data packs can trick the game into permitting life in the darkness, but at great cost. Without custom code patching its territorial instincts, the engine will fight back the spawning entities that defy its emptiness mandate or glitching them into oblivion. The void doesn't tolerate trespassers, and trespass it does with lethal efficiency. Step off the edge of the final block, and you'll experience the cold brutality of void damage, a mechanic far crueler than ordinary fall damage. Plunge from a mountain peak, and the game tallies your blocks fall in to calculate injury. But the void doesn't play by such gentle mathematics. Once your Y coordinate dips below -64, the engine triggers an instant kill switch, bypassing hit points and resistance potions to declare absolute judgment. No gentle fading. No dramatic falling scream, just the cold calculus of your avatar's position crossing an invisible line in the code. This ruthless efficiency has birthed legends among players. The infamous boat clutch, where dropping a boat mid-fall tricks the game into letting it land on nothing, creating a floating platform from pure exploit. These loopholes reveal the void's paradoxical nature, a space defined by absence yet inconsistently governed by the same physics that abandon you in freefall. Speedrunners and mad scientists of Minecraft's sandbox bend these rules to their will, testing whether the void is truly empty or merely misunderstood. Which brings us to humanity's eternal refusal to accept emptiness as a final answer. Modders have long waged war against the end's void, weaving new myths into its darkness veteran transforms the abyss into floating forests and crystalline caverns, while others cloak it in storms or eldritch dimensions accessed only by daring the depths. Yet reshaping nothingness is a titanic task. Altering terrain generation here isn't like spawning trees in a forest. It's convincing the engine that void chunks asterisk should asterisk generate something when their entire identity is refusal. Resource packs resort to optical illusions, painting skybox trickery to cloak the abyss in faux galaxies or swirling mist, while server plugins patch the void damage script to convert deadly emptiness into a portal to new adventures. Each attempt reveals a universal truth: emptiness in Minecraft is intentional. A carefully curated canvas of stillness that players itch to vandalize with life, structure, and meaning because the human mind rebels against the idea that true nothing exists. So the next time you hover at the world's edge, know you're witnessing a collaboration between human intention and computational necessity, a void forged not by oversight, but by deliberate design. It reminds us that emptiness is as much a construction as a castle, a realm where code and creativity collide, defining the boundaries of our digital universe. And perhaps, in its infinite darkness, there's a mirror for our own hunger to fill voids with blocks, with mobs, with stories waiting to be coded into existence. The outer end silence isn't emptiness, it's an invitation to listen closer, to hear the algorithms whisper their secrets, asking whether you'll accept the void or rewrite its rules one mod at a time.